What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate. Today, the road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams now takes us to where everything is bigger. Dallas, Texas is the home of the SMU Mustangs, and Dallas's own college football program made the college football playoffs last year. They want to run it back in 2025. My name is Nate Bobe, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and helping to support the channel. If you'd like to support the channel even further, be my guest. Do what it says right below me. Hit the subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell, because turning notifications on ensures that you won't miss an upload, especially you don't want to miss your favorite team during prediction season. I am a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of the industry, and if you want to see all the cool stuff I do while being able to get updates on what goes on this very YouTube channel, please give me a follow on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it, and Instagram. It's the handle right down below me. It's at TailgateNate29. You can even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I want to thank you so much for supporting and interacting with me in the channel, however you may be doing so. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Pony Express is going to get right back on those rails, conducted by Rhett Lashley. They're ready for another playoff type run out of the ACC here in 2025. They especially want to get back to the ACC championship game, win the thing this year, and then make a deeper run than they did this previous season in the college football playoffs. Set up nicely to do it. How do we do preview and predictions here on the channel? Well, we're going to go through a roster overview in which the offense is going to be over here to my left, the defense to my right, and at the end of the video, we'll go through the SMU football schedule, give it a prediction, and I'll tell you what I think about the Ponies here in 2025. Before we get started with that, some numbers right below me I want you to be aware of. Returning production numbers are courtesy of ESPN. They do include portal additions up to a certain extent. Not sure what that formula looks like, but just so you know, that does include portal additions there in those numbers. Recruiting and portal ranks are courtesy of 24/7 Sports. They are listed below that. We will start right over to my left with the offense and your offensive coordinator, Casey Woods. Let's talk about the quarterback position. Last year, a lot of people felt like it was going to be Preston Stone. After a dynamic 2023 season, he was supposed to step in and take maybe even another step forward in 2024. He did quite the opposite. He took a pretty big step backward, is now transferring out of this program, and then in came Kevin Jennings. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, but then exploded as the full-time starter here with this team. He proved his role, as it says on screen. 3,245 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, albeit a lot of those came in the college football playoff game on the road in Happy Valley against Penn State, one of, if not the toughest environment that SMU played in last season. So, Kevin Jennings, I think, still has to cut back that interception number a little bit, but if he does that, he'll increase his touchdown production. All of that, by the way, was on around 65% completion percentage, so a good completion percentage. Getting more touchdowns will be the key focus here. Improvements, again, needed in that touchdown to interception ratio, but I mean, look at what Kevin Jennings did for you last season. Provided stability, provided energy, provided that dynamic ability that you need, and was also a pretty good runner out of the backfield, a good improviser out of the pocket. 354 yards and a trio of touchdowns last season when he decided to tuck it and run. I think Kevin Jennings is going to be another phenomenal quarterback, and look, I don't think he's going to have as good of a season as Cade Klubnik, but he could still be one of, if not, well, okay, I think Cade Klubnik going to be the best quarterback in the conference, but he could still be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC, absolutely. When you talk about the talent around him, Brashard Smith, he is off and gone to Kansas City, and he is going to be tough to replace. He's with Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs. 1,332 yards and 14 touchdowns on nearly 6 yards per carry for Brashard Smith last season. That's going to be really, really difficult to try to replace. However, you do get some transfers coming into the program. Chris Johnson is in from Miami, where he got lost in that running back room. Going to try to provide a really nice spark here. And TJ Harden from UCLA, 506 yards and 2 touchdowns a season ago, but in 2023, 827 yards and 8 touchdowns on 5.3 yards per carry. You even go back to 2022, where he only got 40 carries or so, averaged 7 yards per pop. So this is the guy that has dynamic ability and could be a really good runner for you. Derek McFall, my apologies, will also be coming back here to help give some depth, and maybe even be a pretty key figure to this running back room that, again, I think can go 3 deep with those 3 guys right there. Now, this is where you start to get a little tricky with the SMU offense, because 3 of your top 4 guys in the wide receiver room have now, or I should say, are just no longer with the team. Top one of that, Roderick Daniels, 663 yards, 4 touchdowns last season. You're also going to be losing Keyshawn Smith, who is in Las Vegas with the Raiders now, 527 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then also Moochie Dixon. He's also in the NFL with New Orleans. The Saints, 386 yards and a touchdown for him last season. So, again, some solid production out of those 3, but you do get Jordan Hudson coming back. He is the lone constant out of the top 4 receivers. He had 422 yards, and again, that 5 touchdowns, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, tied for the team high, again, right there with Smith from last season. So Jordan Hudson coming back. Depth is going to need to step up and prove itself. And then you don't really get that many high impact transfers coming in here, if any. So you're going to be pairing Jordan Hudson with Romello Brinson, who's a very experienced player, and a ton, or maybe not a ton, but 2 really, really good freshmen. You're going to be getting Jalen Cooper coming on in here. He is the 321st overall ranked player, according to 24/7 Sports, in the class of 2025, a 4-star wide receiver, and another 4-star wide receiver in Dalen Singleton, 48th overall wide receiver ranked. Jalen Cooper, the 26th overall wide receiver rank. So 2 top 50 receivers, according to 24/7 Sports, both of them 4 stars. Yeah, not too shabby of some freshmen that are going to be entering this program, and I think going to make some really, really big impacts, as well as, again, a ton of younger depth that's going to be joining the offensive side. Good news, though, you want some constants. Again, a lot of leaders have left. Hey, constants at the tight end room. Both R.J. Maryland and Matthew Hibner are coming back. Both of them had over 300 yards receiving last season and 4 touchdowns for each of them. So that's some pretty good return out of your tight end room. They play a vital part to this offense in a pass-catching way, and they're going to do so again here in 2024. Again, that connection between Jennings and the tight end room not going to go away this season. 2 offensive line starters are gone. Logan Parr, however, is a massive return to this offensive line. I forget what position. Okay, left guard. I was going to say left tackle, and I would have been wrong. Left guard is where Logan Parr plays. Again, a very, very huge return as a graduate. He has got a ton of football under his belt, and then transfers are entering to fill the gaps of the offensive line starters, specifically Joshua Bates and Addison Nichols, that will be stepping into, according to ourlads.com, projected to start for this offensive line this season. Do have a couple other transfers back there in that room, but they'll be depth pieces, if anything else. Your defense, let's move on over to that side. Scott Simons is your defensive coordinator, and look, forcing turnovers is still going to be a focus for this SMU defense. Let's take a look at the turnovers that they forced last season. 22 of them, including 16 interceptions last season. A very, very impressive number. That's still going to be the focus, and there are honestly ways that SMU can get better about forcing the takeaways. Hey, there were a lot of turnovers last season. A lot of offenses made some pretty dumb mistakes against this SMU defense, but SMU, again, forcing those takeaways. Not that they didn't force a lot of those turnovers, but again, you could say that there's some area for improvement when you're talking about the Ponies and turnovers, even though 22, pretty darn impressive number, could be pretty hard to replicate. I think they're going to get pretty darn close to it this season. But the biggest thing for this SMU secondary is improving that back end. You have got to get better. Got to get better in the secondary department. We'll talk about it when we get there. Let's start with the defensive line and this defensive front. The D-line room is going to be overhauled by transfers, but you do get some key returning players. Cameron Robertson and Isaiah Smith will both be coming back for you here. So, as far as the likes of Isaiah Smith, pretty darn good player for you last season. 32 tackles and 6.5 sacks last season. Robertson also off the edge. 31 tackles and 2.5 sacks. But you're just losing a ton of guys here off of this defensive front. Elijah Roberts, now in the NFL. Jared Harrison Hunt, now in the NFL. Same thing with Jafari Harvey, also in the NFL. 3 massive pieces on the defensive line last season. Yeah, all of them are gone. Here are some of the transfers looking to fill those spots. Jeffrey Emba, Yeah, really darn good player coming in. Terry Webb, also really darn good player coming in. Trey Wilson, DJ Warner, and then some other names you could throw into that list there as well. SMU still, I think, could have a pretty good defensive line room, even with all they lost. As far as your linebacking unit, lead tacklers Kobe Wilson and Ahmad Walker are going to be gone. We'll run through some stats there for you. Kobe Wilson, top guy in tackling last year, 117 of them, 3 sacks, did have a couple interceptions with that. And then Walker, 92 tackles, half a sack, an interception to pair along with 3 passes defended from last season. Pretty darn good stuff out of those 2 linebackers. Again, they are both gone. However, Alexander Kilgore is going to be the one returning here, a top 6 tackler for the team last year. Still a solid season, 56 tackles, had a couple, I think even a trio of passes defended. Not too bad, but a big name coming over from the G5 ranks. From the East Carolina Pirates, it's Zake Barker. Had 84 tackles, 2 sacks, forced a fumble last season for East Carolina, and I think he's going to be a massive addition to this linebacking unit for the SMU Mustangs. Here is your improvement area, the secondary. How can it get better this season? Well, it takes a big hit because 3 top 10 tacklers are going to be gone out of this secondary. However, you do get a huge piece back, and I mean huge piece. Isaiah Wacobia will be coming back here. Was a triple-digit tackler, tied for the team high with 3 interceptions last season. Now, again, he was tied with the team high with Jonathan Gill. He is gone, as well as Ahmad Moses. Well, Ahmad Moses will be coming back to your room there as well. Even though you lose 3 of your top 10 tacklers last season, and that's not just in terms of top 10 tacklers in the secondary. That is 3 top 10 tacklers overall on your entire defense. Wacobia and Moses, each with 3 interceptions last year, tied for the team high again with one other player, that being Jonathan Gill. He is gone. They're going to lead this secondary, and I think they have to see improvement this season. Lots of transfers, or I shouldn't say lots of transfers coming into that back end. You got a couple that could make some impact. Marcellus Barnes, Robert Rahimi, maybe a name or 2 out there that I am not aware of at the current moment. So it's going to be a lot of guys that are stepping into some roles here, but led by Wacobia and Moses, I think the secondary and the back end should still be pretty solid. Your punting room is going to get an overhaul this year, but Colin Rogers will return to be your place kicker. There's the special teams report, because kickers are people too. I think Kevin Jennings, pointed the wrong way. I think Kevin Jennings is going to be amazing yet again at the quarterback position. I think they got good pieces to fill what they lost in the running back and wide receiver room. Same thing with the offensive line, and a lot of really good players transferring in and coming back to the defensive side. SMU still going to be one of the top contenders in the ACC this year, but how's the schedule? Well, let's go ahead and find out right now. This is the 2025 SMU football schedule, but before we dive on into this mess, let's look at some numbers right down below me from our good friends at FanDuel. Sorry, there's a hair floating. I got it away. From our good friends at FanDuel, these are the SMU odds to win the conference and the national championship. Don't go placing your money on these unless you want to. I'm not advising you to do that. You can do it if you would like to. It's just some context provided to see how good the odds makers think SMU is going to be this year. Well, that plus 800 to win the ACC. Fact check here really fast. I believe that is third behind Clemson and Miami to go ahead and win that conference. I'll get it for you here in a minute, but they are plus 10,000 to win the national championship. Odds makers telling you there has to be quite a lot to go right there to win the ACC. And currently, again, these odds are current as of recording this video. They are subject to change. Currently, SMU tied with Louisville for the 3rd best odds to win the ACC, again behind Miami and Clemson, all 3 of which they got on the schedule this year. So let's take a look at the schedule for SMU, and it's going to start off with an easy win. What used to be Texas A&M Commerce is now East Texas A&M, and this will be a win to start off the season for the SMU Mustangs. Then you get a massive non-conference game. You get the Baylor Bears sitting here at home. Now, I do think SMU is going to win this game against an in-state team from Waco. However, Baylor is going to provide SMU with a lot of problems, especially in that secondary where SMU has struggled before, especially last season. I think Baylor can challenge you because you got a gunslinger in Sawyer Robertson to play quarterback for you. Josh Cameron is back. Kobe Prentice is in from Alabama. And if eligibility gets restored to Ashton Hawkins, who was a vital part to the wide receiver room last year, then that is a massive return for Baylor, and it can give SMU some even more problems. But I think SMU offensively is still going to be as dynamic as Baylor will be, and I think they are a little bit better equipped to run a two-dimensional offense than what Baylor is. Now, I know Baylor's got some solid pieces in the running back room. Bryson Washington, Dawson Pendergrass, even a freshman in Caden Knighton, I think are going to be good players for you. I just think SMU has got better talent in the backfield, especially with TJ Harden. I think that kid is really, really good, and the dual threat ability of Kevin Jennings, I think ultimately will doom this Baylor defense. A very, very close game. I think these two teams are really going to battle it out, but I think SMU at the end of the day gets a very close win against the Baylor Bears. They will start the season 2-0. In fact, I think they start off the season 3-0 when you go on the road and beat a new addition to the FBS this season, Missouri State joining Conference USA. I don't think they're going to be that great of a team this season, and SMU should be able to beat them in their first year as an FBS team. Road game, though, against Missouri State. Interesting. Very interesting. Don't matter. SMU will be able to win that one. All right, on the road against TCU, your rivals, your arch nemesis in the battle for the Iron Skillet. This, I think, is going to be an exceptional game. Much like the Baylor game, I think this one's going to end up being pretty close here. TCU, much like with what Baylor has, they got a lot of really good returning pieces offensively that are going to give you some havoc. Josh Hoover coming back at quarterback is a guy I like a lot. And again, I think that TCU has got some pretty darn good weapons here. Eric McAllister, Jordan Dyer, and Joseph Manjack, the latter two transferring into this program this year, I think are going to be a really good wide receiver room, and I think can give this SMU secondary some fits. I really, really do believe that. Some other pretty darn good pieces in that running back room, Trent Battle, and then when you look defensively, just a ton of good returning defensive pieces this year. Again, very similar to the Baylor situation. A lot of really good returning pieces, a lot of really good talent. Baylor is going to compete with SMU. End of the day, I do think the Ponies get that win. Don't know why my Missouri State green went away. There you go. But for this TCU game, I do believe that TCU is going to come out on top of this thing, and it can be quite this simple. Baylor game, SMU's at home. You got to go on the road to play this TCU team. I'm not necessarily saying TCU is going to be a better team than Baylor. Not saying they're necessarily more dangerous than Baylor. I think those two teams are going to be pretty solid all year round here, Baylor and TCU, but I do believe that TCU will get the better of them here in the battle for the Iron Skillet. Playing on the road in that environment, not going to be easy here for this program. And I think Baylor can give SMU secondary some challenges. I think TCU's got the better quarterback in Josh Hoover as compared to Sawyer Robertson, and that's no slight to Robertson. I just really, really like Josh Hoover, and TCU will be able to get that one done. So you now enter a bye week here, and you start to dive on into ACC play. Again, tough ACC schedule for the most part, right? You have Clemson, you have Miami, you have Louisville, who are 1, 2, 3 right there with you for odds to go win the ACC. Syracuse is going to be a very interesting team this season, but they have to replace a ton of talent. I think they are one of, if not the worst team in the Power 4 in terms of returning production, and they really didn't get a whole lot through the transfer portal to help supplement. I think SMU is going to be able to win this game. Syracuse can still be competitive. Fran Brown's going to get the best out of his guys, but I think Rhett Lashley's group able to win that one. And then Stanford, very, very interesting team with the Stanford Cardinal this year, but same thing to Syracuse. They're just losing a lot that they're going to have to try to replace, especially in that whiteout room. I just don't know if Stanford is going to have the pieces needed to be able to take advantage of SMU's biggest weakness, and as of right now, that is that secondary. That being said, a lot of good guys did come in through the transfer portal, but especially Eric Isle Manor. Losing him, I think, is a really, really big deal. Look, you're still going to have Elijah Brown at quarterback, or I should say you're going to have Elijah Brown at quarterback now. I think, again, pretty solid piece there, but SMU more talented than Stanford. They should be able to win that game. So you're sitting at 5-1 right now, going into, I think, the game that every Mustang fan has to have circled, and it's this game against Clemson. Rematch of the ACC title game from last year. Impressive comeback from SMU, but then Clemson won it at the horn with a game-winning field goal. I don't know if it's going to be a very similar type game there. It could be a very similar type game to what we saw out of the first, I don't know, 35 to 40 minutes in the ACC championship game, or at very least that first half, where Clemson was starting to run away with the thing. I think Clemson is going to win this one pretty handedly. I think Cade Klubnik, pair him with Garrett Riley, third year, is going to be incredible. They got a sneaky good wide receiver room that I think is going to be one of the best in the entire country this season. And even if it's not sneaky good, it's just really good. Gideon Davidson's a dog, a true freshman running back. And that Clemson defense with Tom Allen at the helm now as the DC, yeah, they're going to get back to the physical intensity that we're used to seeing out of a Clemson defense, not to mention it's in Death Valley on the road. Give me the Tigers to knock over the Pony Express, handing them the second loss of the year. But SMU will be able to bounce back nicely, go on the road, win at Wake Forest. Don't think the Demon Deacons going to be that much of a threat to the Mustangs this season. This is the big one, though. Fighting for potentially a spot in an ACC title game already in Week 10. College football playoff hopes are starting to teeter on that line here. I do think SMU gets the win here against Miami. Now, Miami is a team you got to watch out for this season, especially if Carson Beck returns to 2023 form. I think that is going to be a massive, massive win for Miami if Carson Beck can cut back on the interceptions. And he started to for the latter part of last season, but they're just replacing a lot of talent. Xavier Restrepo is gone. You lose some pieces in the running back room. You're going to lose some really heavy hitters defensively. Still a lot of really good talent. I think Miami can contend for the ACC this year, as well as Carson Beck being an experienced player. But now so is Kevin Jennings. I think they'll be too dynamic for this Miami defense. That's got to see some improvements this year. SMU wins that game. Should have no trouble with Boston College. Quarterback Tommy Castellanos is now over with the Florida State Seminoles. Then here's this game against Louisville. I think a lot of people sleeping on the Louisville Cardinals, especially after what happened last season. Again, 8-4, maybe a little bit underperforming compared to relative expectations, but Miller Moss is coming in at quarterback. Your wide receiver room is amazing. Chris Bell, Colin Lacey back, and you paired DeColly Collins with him now. Stop it. Absolutely stop it. Louisville, I think, is going to be ridiculous, but defense trying to retool a lot of pieces, fitting in a lot through the transfer portal, and I just think the SMU offense going to be able to get through this Louisville defense to enough of an extent to be able to win an absolute brawl, and SMU keeps the college football playoff hopes alive in what could be a very vital game for the ACC race, and then SMU wins that final game on the road against Cal, as we just talked about last video. Fernando Mendoza now with the California Golden Bears, or I should say now with the Indiana Hoosiers, and that, again, is a massive loss for Cal, I believe. So I got a 10-2 record, 7-1. Guys, that very well can be good enough to get back into the ACC championship game. I still think this SMU team is going to be really, really good. Kevin Jennings, still a really good quarterback. I think they did well in the portal and in recruiting to bring in enough talent to try to fill in the gaps in what they lost. Still got a lot of good pieces coming back, and a lot of the struggles from last season, especially that secondary, I think are going to see their improvements in some way, shape, or form this season. SMU could have a very nice chance here to get back to the college football playoff in 2025. That's what I think about the Mustangs. Let me hear what you think in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the very next video. Goodbye.